Dungeons and Dragons Adventurer. Issue 25. So it's a nice flat issue today. No bulky dice or character sheets. No bulky dice in there. So let's find out what we've got. First up, the free gift. As we said, not dice, it's more standees. Right, so here we've got our Paladin, Oshog, I think. Our Druid, and then 2 more ghouls, which gives me 3 ghouls in total now. So hopefully there's a few more coming up that we're going to have to deal with, I guess. But interestingly, not this character I previewed. Enough about them though, on to the magazine. In the issue then, obviously we're now encountering our monk class, so that's what the character sheet was for at the back. We're going to have an owlbear at the carnival. We're going to look at the Urchin, so I think the monk's going to be an Urchin. And then either we're going to look at the cleric's knowledge domain or the fighter's battlemaster. Not sure. Getting some conflicting information, we'll find out in a bit. And making maps, yeah. So let's just start with that. So this part 3 is just about creating buildings, and it's mainly to do with sometimes you might have encounters that aren't combat and that, like such as, but you meet people in an inn or you're exploring maybe an old keep or something. So it looks like that's what we're going to discuss today. We've got building plans here. So if you're making maps and you want to do buildings, you just want to consider what you're going to find there. So like castle, inn, mansion. Example, if you were designing a shop, you want a shop area, counters and shelves, stock room, shopkeeper's quarters. And you can mix and match to create inventive stuff. So you might have a cottage, but it's an old wizard who lives there, so he's got a library, which is odd to have. And when drawing it, gives you some nice tips for drawing. So always start with the outside, then fit all your rooms inside. Always point north so you know where you're going. Always make sure to label it so you can have a key later on. And try and give some interesting features, like some random statues. If you've got multiple floors, you need ways to get up and down, like stairs or ramps. Is there a main entrance? Are there side exits? And many more tips. And then once you're done, just keep hold of it later, because you might be able to repurpose it for another building or another adventure. And one thing, if you've got a room where combat's likely to take place, make sure it's big enough so your characters can move around. Unless you particularly want a really tight-knit, like, combat no room to move sort of thing. Which would be a shame if you were a Battlemaster fighter, who we're going to look at now. They're very tactical, so they've probably got a lot of movement stuff to go on. They're impressive level expertise, cool heads. They're also students of war, so as well as being masters of battle, they also gain proficiency of artisan tools, so they master quite a few things. And they have combat superiority, which is basically where they get maneuvers. They get these dice, they roll the dice to expend them and regain them at rests. But that's what the Battlemaster's features are. Obviously, Irene is an arcane archer. It does say here, if you've got the player's handbook, go to D&D Builder to make a Battlemaster instead. So let's check out these combat features. So there's quite a few maneuvers, as you can see. A whole page's worth. I wasn't expecting this many. And at 3rd level, you've got access to 3 of these, so you probably get the Battlemaster probably gains a new maneuver every level. And there's lots of like variety of what you've got here. Obviously, you've got your superiority dice to do it. Some of them just say expend the dice. Some of them say roll the dice, and you get to add the total to whatever you're doing. And you've got a variety of things, so you can improve your skill checks. You can do bonus attacks, bonus damage, bonus defend. Combat things, disarm your opponents, push them around, grapple, frighten them with menacing attacks. Yeah, so there's a lot of options you've got here. And as your Battlemaster, you pick 3 of them, and you've got 4 dice to use, I think. Yeah, the page says 4 dice. So 3 maneuvers, 4 dice to split among them, and you probably get more dice as well as more maneuvers as you level up. We'll look at that in more detail if we actually had a Battlemaster. So instead, let's look at the monk, which we do have because we've got a character sheet on the back. So these guys, they favour self-discipline and enlightenment. They don't like material wealth. I think that's I'm not sure that's always the time or generally. But as well as the standard monk that I'm used to, where they're really good at hand-to-hand combat, weaponless fighting, they're also, I didn't realise they've got the magical energy of ki, so they can use their own sort of magic to mimic spells in a way. And I'm sure in this magazine we're going to see some of those. But let's find out what monks can do. Well, I forgot the first page of these characters always talk about their descriptions and stuff rather than their features. Or the features are in the same magazine, so it's fine. But so this is just going, you've got to consider what your monks' backgrounds are going to be like and where they've come from. So it looks like all your monks would have come from a monastery. And generally, monks stay there unless they're adventurers or they've got a reason to leave. But what I want you to consider is, what was your monastery like? Where was it? What was the master like there? Did it have an icon? So there might have been like some sort of creatures you especially regarded. Like whatever creature that is outside. But yeah, so what features do you get anyway? So first level, we do get a lot of standard stuff. So monks get D8 as their hit dice. They get proficiencies in 1 sort of tools, 2 saving throws, a couple of skills, They're also going to start with a short sword or a simple weapon, even if they're not going to use it. One of the packs, and then 10 darts too. More actual features then, and these are the stuff I'll expect from a monk. So they have an unarmoured defence, so instead of using armour and shields, if they're unarmoured, they get their wisdom bonus as well as their dexterity bonus added to their AC. And the expert in martial arts gives them a lot of advantage when they're unarmed or using monk weapons, which is just any simple weapons that don't have two-handed or heavy properties. Or short swords, which they start with, or any versatile weapons if they're being used one-handed. Which is almost basically the same as finesse, because when they're wielding these weapons, they can use dexterity instead of strength for attacking damage. But then also, what makes the monk is if they use one of these monk weapons or an unarmed strike, they get additional unarmed strike as a bonus action. And then the unarmed strike's actually better. So most characters deal 1 damage plus their modifiers. When a monk's unarmed, they deal 1d4. And as they level up, the dice gets bigger. So at level 5, they get 1d6 for their unarmed strike. And that can replace monk weapons. So for example, let's say the darts are 1d4, but at 5th level, your darts start doing 1d6 damage, because that's like your monk dice. Sadly, we're not at 5th level yet, but we are at 2nd level, so we'll see some more features we get. And this is mainly going to look at the key magic they're going to use, or key energy, which says it is background magic, so similar to a Dragon's Breath weapon. So an anti-magic field does not nullify a monk's key effects. It's interesting. So let's see what keys we can do. So with our key, it's basically a magical feature that uses wisdom modifier for the monks. And at level 2, they start off with 3 different features, and they've got 2 key points. So it looks like key points per level. Features, it says you gain more as you level up. I'm not sure if you gain a set feature all the time, or if it's from a selection. But they haven't said, oh, these are the ones. They said these 3 features are, so they always have these. But they are, you can do Flurry of Blows. That's just an additional 2 unarmed strikes as your bonus action. Patient Defense, so you can dodge as a bonus action, or Step as a wind, so you can disengage or dash as your bonus action. Your monk's also going to move an extra 10 feet when they're unarmoured, and they get the hit points that increase like normal. So now we've done level 2, which is the magic. We'll move to level 3, which as normal is going to be picking a path for these guys, or one of their archetypes, you'd say. And the monks, they have a devotion to a monasteric tradition. Some of the other ones you can get, Way of the Kentsi, which is really weapon focused, or Way of the Open Hand, which is really hand-to-hand, unarmed. Martial arts is the word I was looking for. Our monk, though, has followed the Way of the Shadow. So they follow stealth and subterfuge. It says to think of Batman as an example. Sometimes they're like a family sort of monastery together, and sometimes they're like a thieves guild that hire out the services. Either way, the heads of these sort of Way of the Shadow monasteries always expect the unquestioned obedience of their students. So let's see what the Way of the Shadows can do then. So it doesn't appear we can gain any more key points yet, or I haven't seen it in the text. But as the Way of the Shadow, we can use our key energy to duplicate certain spells. One thing is they'll get the minor illusion cantrip, so you can cast this at will, just make an illusion. And you've also got other spells you can do which cost 2 key points to cast. So it's slightly worse than having spell slots. Although you can cast them without material components, but if they've got verbal and somatic, you still need to make the gestures or speak the words. So you can make darkness, you can make a sphere of silence, you can give a creature dark willing, and you can give a veil of shadow and silence to pass without trace. Standard hit point increase, but this is the other one here, the interesting one where you can deflect missiles. So any monks that get hit by a ranged weapon attack, they can reduce the damage by a 1d10 plus dex modifier plus monk level, and if it reduces to 0, they actually catch the missile. On the condition they have a hand free and it's small enough to catch in one hand. And then for 1 key point, they can actually then make an ranged attack of it as part of the same reaction. So there's a reaction to do that. And it's an attack with proficiency, treated as a monk weapon regardless of what it is, and it's got a range here 20 feet to 60 feet long range. Right, enough about monks for now then. Let's move on to urchins. And these are D&D's humblest background. You've suffered extreme adversity and hardship has given you useful skills. So lots of classes could be urchins. Rogues are a natural fit for it. You could have combat skills you develop to defend yourself, so be a fighter or barbarian. Some actions you do notice, and you've been recruited by a church guild or patron to be a cleric or paladin. Or your severe life, maybe when you've chosen your own, and you may have remembered your own or found a temple or monastery, even heard your calling as a monk. Hint, hint. Because as an urchin, you've already got all your experience in hand-to-hand fighting and being unarmoured. So what else do we know about urchins? So role-playing an urchin, you start off with like very little possessions. A map of the city with some secret locations, might have been like safe places for you or stuff. Some token of your parents or loved ones. So it's a reminder that motivates you, potential mystery of that. And as a testament to your isolation, you have the only true companion you've ever known. Could be a mouse or a rat. Could be a small inanimate object that talks to you and is like your imaginary friend. But as an urchin, you've got benefits, so you're adept to urban challenges and adventures. You can cross cities quite quickly because you've got a city secrets feature. You know all the secret paths, I guess, and all the hidden places. And skills with sleight of hand and stealth, and you're probably quite good at surviving. A little bit like the, I want to say the Hermit, or the Wanderer, or whatever it was. Outcast, maybe. But yeah, that's sort of similar sort of thing. But a humble beginning doesn't mean you've lacked an upbringing. It's far from it. Simply giving you a difficult one that's made you clever, crafty and fierce. Right, now on to the main bit of the magazine, the encounter. And remember, this is for the DM's eyes only, so if you're planning to run this, use the chapters to skip ahead. Otherwise, let's dive into it. Carnage at the Carnival. A crew of pirates, masquerading as traders, is docked in Neverwinter, on their vessel the Phantom Shark. And since they've arrived, there's been a lot of robberies that have been taking place. So the Winter Shield Watchmen can't prove it's them, but they've come to you for aid, especially because the carnival's here. Maestro Mercado's extraordinary extravaganza, a travelling circus, is set up, so the docks have been transformed for the next few nights. So they're going to need your help to catch the pirates' wrongdoing. So let's find out exactly how. Lieutenant Muddock of the Winter Shield Watchmen, who we've met before in 18 and 19 encounters. He's approached the party and said, oh, they've got the fair, they've got all these muggings and that. They know they're Luskan traders, but we know traders from Luskan aren't honest, don't exist. So he offers you all 50 GP each to attend the fair and keep an eye on them. So when you get at the fair, there's a big fair, and at the end of the pier, they're setting up this carnival pier place. It's got a nice map. Good enough. And there's all these festival stuff. You can buy hot meat, bowls of turtle soup. There's carnival games like crossbow shooting, eel pie eating, and so on. It does say the fair and its adventure is actually a backdrop. It's not what you're here for. But if you do want to go on a side quest, go back to Encounter 8 and run fun at the fair again. Or at least the fairground games. So you're trying to find your pirates, and you can either stay put and stake out, or you can go searching for them. So if you stake out, you make a perception check. If you go on the move for them, you make a survival check. So as a group check. So DC 15, on a success, you found a pirate. On a failure, you failed. And if you succeed by 5 or more, it takes you 5 minutes to do it. On a failure, you waste an hour as well. Let's see how long you got to do it in a bit. But so yeah, so the crew are human Northlanders. Juniors have got red scarves. Veterans have got tattoos of ghostly sharks on their face. They use the thugs, which will be over relief. And if you spot a pirate, you can either try and follow them for a DC 10 dexterity check. And if you succeed, you go to Buccaneer's Blunder. If you fail, Fleeing Freebooter. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention earlier, the Winter Shield Watchmen don't condone murder. So when they was hiring you, they did say, don't murder the pirates. So just a reminder, you can take them alive by getting to 0 HP to knock them out. Anyway, if you successfully follow the pirates, you roll a d6 to see what they're going to do eventually. If you do roll a 6, it turns out it's actually a noble by mistake. I'm not sure if it matters too much if you actually find any pirates or not. If they're fleeing as well, you do some checks. A lot of this is involving more checks now. So you make a check via the pirate and you're trying to capture them, or they escape. Either way, once you've confronted 2 pirates or 3 hours of game time have passed, then you move to the main event, which is Roll Up, which is where everyone starts going to get tickets for the greatest show and moving on to the pier. You do see several fur-clad figures, so it suggests you should go there. And it costs 1 silver to stand or 1 gold to sit. And there's an ogre, Fargo the ogre bouncer. He's in the way, so he makes sure people who don't pay can't get in. But he's got a rubbish perception, so a lot of people sneak past him, including Neverwintians. And he has a stat block, which we'll see in a bit. Alright then, main event time. So there's quite a lot going on here. Also, I was expecting an owlbear, and there isn't. But I checked again, said a cuddly owlbear. And just say, oh, a dancing owlbear. Not what I was expecting. Anyway, the show's going to end. You've got a big illusion fireworks show. Then as the show it all kicks off, and there's so much going on here. So Pirate's going to jump on the stage and try and rob the crew. Everyone flees in panic. What do the characters do? Because you can come to their aid. It also says you can not come to their aid, and then the crew will just submit after a few minutes of blubbering, and one of the acrobats get killed. So you could just sit there and watch it happen. You can also go run to Fargo the Ogre Bouncer. He's got his stats over the page, and convince him to help you. If you tell him where you get paid, you get advantage on the check. And then yeah, so all the pirates, there's 2 per character. They've got the Thug stat block, plus Captain Hogni Horstrom, which uses the Pirate Captain stat block. A bit upset they've just given us a generic one rather than a specific one for the captain. But there could be a lot of pirate captains coming up, so it might be easier to have a generic one they can just sort of copy and paste. or refer you to. But yeah, so you've got that. If you defeat Hogni, 4 pirates flee, or they surrender if there's 4 or less. But more stuff, the clown in trouble. So Maestro gets knocked unconscious, everyone else flees, but Arlo the clown slips and falls in the water. So you've got to try and save him as well, because he's a poor swimmer, which draws the attention of a reef shark. And if you don't go in to save him, he's dragged underwater and never seen again. So you can pull him out of a rope, dive in to save him, or kill the shark before it reaches him, which is a good thing we had the underwater combat given to us last issue. And yeah, once everyone's saved, you'll get your pay. Also, Maestro Mikado is going to give you free tickets and an enormous stuffed toy of an owlbear. So there's the owlbear, the cuddly owlbear. And it says, won't be long before Lord Dagold never remember himself hears your bravery. And yeah, so here we've got the stat block. So standard Fog stat block, probably matches all the previous ones we've had. Reef Sharks, nice something new. It's water breathing. It's got pack tactics, which is interesting because it's on its own. Here's our pirate captain. I don't know if that's him or if that's just a picture they've stuck here with all his stuff. So he can flourish, drag charisma, ability checks, and resist to being knocked prone because he's got sea legs, has a hand crossbow and a longsword. And shape up your dog so he can help his pirates if they miss a throw twice per day. Plus, we have Fargo, the ogre bouncer, as our last stat block. And he's just got a great club and a javelin. Not sure if he'll knock the pirates unconscious or if he's just going to go out and murder them though. Have to see if we get him to help first. So now the magazine's done, we get our character sheet, which is for our stout halfling monk Urchin and Yas Quickwillow. So obviously the 3rd level character sheet, we don't need the rest if you want the rest. Well, in fact, you don't even get the rest, but you have to go to beyond if you want to make a lower level. All the usual stuff. Got a lot of dexterity and wisdom, which is good because I feel that benefits everything. Speed 35 because of the bonus. 17 armor class because you got all of that, yeah. Only 15 hit points, which I think seems a bit low. I'll check on that, but you should get 5 per level, but start with 8. Plus you get +1, unless there's something else going on. And here you got all the darts they start with. Spear, your unarmed strike, which is better than normal. All your bits. A locket to remember your parents by, and a map of Waterdeep. Your pet mouse, and all the better stuff. So most of this is halfling stuff, and then you've got your city secrets, your martial arts, all your key. You have 3 key points now. So yeah, you do gain a key point. Have key points equal to your level, which they left out in the 3rd level features you gain in it. Your Way of the Shadow, and you deflect missiles. And over the page does it have the details of the spells. Yeah, and then the rest of it is just, here's our monk, and then you've got your minor illusion cantrip, and then your couple of spells for your Way of the Shadow. It says here, spend the 2 key spell points to cast. I keep saying key, it might be Kai. I think that's a matter of preference maybe. Or someone's going to tell me I'm completely wrong. Yeah, that was the magazine. Issue 25 done, issue 26 to come. And Horned Heroes, it's Tiefling time, which is a lot of the art. We've seen horned characters in the last issue, didn't think about it, but yeah. So we've got another race or species, can't remember what it's called, and warlocks. So we're going to get a Tiefling warlock by the sound of it, and a noble background. So a noble Tiefling warlock, perhaps. Can't see even that side. Yeah, we'll find out then when we get to it. So if you're still here, thanks for watching and sticking around. If you want to see more issues or more episodes, just follow the links that will pop up. So there'll be one here to follow about this, one here to follow the series. Always thanks for watching. Hope to catch you soon.